So welcome guys. In this video I am going to discuss about the few of the VCM stuffs like internet gateway, NAT gateway, Bastion host, compute instance in OCI cloud. Okay, so the purpose of these things, in my previous video we have created a VCN, we have created the subnets, we have created the public subnet, private subnets. We shown that what is the components of the VCN, what the component comes along with the VCN creations, what the component we have to create. So we created some default security list, default route table. We also created the custom route tables and the non-default, what is custom or non-default security list for private instance. We also shown you how created a internet gateway. And these things we'll discuss about the internet gateway, NAT gateway and the Bastion host. The purpose of these things that I'm going to create a compute instance each in the public subnet, which will be having a public IP, and also I'll be creating a compute instance in the private subnet. So it will be a private instance, and I will show you how the Bastion host comes here. So Bastion host something which is when the compute instance created on a private instance, private subnet, you cannot directly log in there because there will be no private public IP can be log in there. So we need to use a Bastion host to route our connections. From the Bastion host we can connect to our private instance. So I'll be discussing everything. I'll show you some demo what you mean by that, how you can connect to the internet from both the public instance and the private instance. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, this was our setup. Okay, we have already created this public subnet, and also we have created the private subnet. Okay, if I'll scroll down a little bit, yeah, this is our public subnet and this is our private subnet. We also already having the internet gateway. Okay, and we shown you that how the traffic flows from the internet gateway here. Okay, so this instance, this time we'll be creating a kind of a NAT here. Okay, so NAT is something, if you want to access the internet from your private subnet, the traffic should flows through the NAT. So we'll be going to discuss these things. And the second thing is that since it is a private subnet and no private and public IP is allowed here, so how can a user from outside this VCN can connect to this private subnet? So they will connect something called Bastion host. Okay, so Bastion host is something you can say it's a jump box kind of stuffs. It's another host, another compute machines on a public subnet. So you can connect through here, and from there you can connect here. So there will be no direct access to the private subnet. Now normally we'll put the web server here, web server in the public subnet. So there will be a internet, we can directly connect to this web server, and from the web server internally it connect to the private subnet in the database server. So database server is predominantly put in the private subnets for the security reasons, and since no direct access will be required, direct access will be there in the web server which will be in the public subnet, and then web server internally connect to the DB server. Okay, so this is kind of a setups. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'll log into this. This is my OCN. This is my OCI VCN level. So we already having this 4 subnets, 1 private, 3 public. We already have the CIDR blocks, 2 route tables. One we have created for the this default is used by the public, and private is used by the private subnet. We also create the 2 security list. Default is by the public, and private is for the private. Okay, so this time what I am going to do that I will this is a sandwich burger menu. I'll go to the compute instance, and I am going to create an instance. Okay, so I'll choose the instance name. Say this will be my public instance. Let me put a public instance 1. Okay, compartment, I am using the database compartment, so database. Okay, I will not want anything. Second thing is that, you know, image and shape. If I'll this is a image type, you can see that there is different options: CentOS, Ubuntu, Linux, Worker Linux, Windows. So I am good with the Linux. Okay, the second is shape. If I'll put on a script, first thing is the virtual machine and bare metal. Virtual machine is a virtual machines in top of the bare metal hardware, so that is it's not a physical hardware, but you will get a virtual machine on top of that. And bare metal is you will get a dedicated physical server access. Okay, so shapes is AMD, Intel. So in AMD there are different options. Definitely Intel is also, you are having a different options, higher OCPU is kind of a CPU, core of the CPU, memory, you know that, and the network bandwidth. But I am interested about the specialty in previous generations. You know the why, because yes, I'll go for the always free available. So this is the free things, having one OCPU, one memory, but they are having different options. In one of my video I have used this VM standard E2.1 which will be a host for a database. So I'll, in this video I am going to choose the free one. So I'll select save, scroll down. Now coming to networking, you know that networking, so my VCNs is database VCN, so I am going to use that. Subnet, I can choose any subnet because this will be a public, so I have to use any public. I can, so 3 is good for me. Next thing is that yes, public IP address. Yes, I need a public IP address because you know, I'll be using this instance to which will be my public instance, and I can directly log in. And even I'll be using this instance as a Bastion host when I'll be logging to my private instance later. Okay, next thing is the add SSH key. There is a different purpose. This is the way how you can log into the your compute instance from your local desktop. Now there is a multiple options. You can create the generate SSH key. You can choose public, you can choose the public key file, you can paste the public key files, no SSH key if you don't need to log in. Now let me show you one thing. So the easiest option here, that I already having a key, but I just want to show you how to create it. Okay, sorry. Okay, I am just remove the SSH folder because I want to show you. So the easiest options, this is Mac, but you know, in Windows, Linux also, the easiest option is that Ssh Keygen is command. You can have some arguments like key size 2096 2048 4096, key name and all these things, but the easiest thing is that you use the Ssh Keygen. So it will be asking for the public private RSA key file. This is the default locations .ssh id RSA. Okay, so you can put a file name or you can blank, so it will be a file name like id RSA. I'll put as a blank. Now it's asking for the enter passphrase. Now passphrase is a second level of authentications. If suppose if your public or private IP private key file is somebody got it, so it is if it is hacked, so the passphrase will be a second level of authentications. For me, I am not putting anything because I am good with the with this in this demo. So again, yeah, now it is created. So if you go to the .ssh and lsltr, you can see there is a id RSA and id RSA pub. First one is ppk. First one, this one is a private private key file, and this is a public file. So if I cat the public rsa.pub, and this is the key, I'll copy these things and I can paste it here. Paste public key, okay, and I'll copy these things here. Okay, now the boot volume, you know that this is a boot volume. I can put a specify custom boot volume. I can put a size, anything size in between 50 to 32 GB. I can put, say, let me put a 50, but this is if you want. Use and transit encryptions. I think it's already encrypted in the REST. You can use the transit encryptions, but however I'm not going to use it, but you can do that. There are multiple advanced options, like, you know, authorization header. If you want to create a cloud script file, that is means it's something like the you know, some of the commands if you want to run along with the instance creation, you can do that. Second is the availability configurations, and the cloud Oracle Cloud Agent. I am not going to do, you know, this is already default, the agent is already there. Okay, so I am not choosing any advanced options, everything is default. I am also not using any tag namespace. So let's create it. Okay, so the public instance is now creating. In the meantime, I'll also create another one for me. This time I will be creating a private instance. Okay, same component. Okay, I'll go with the availability domain. Image is same, shape I am going to change it. I'll go to the specialty and previous generations. I'll choose the free one. Okay, networking VCN is good. Okay, this time I'll be using the different subnet. I'll be using the private subnet. Okay, you can see once I use the private subnet, this is grayed out because it doesn't have any IPv4. So it's this option is selected. Or do not assign a public IPv4 address. I good. Now I'll be pasting this same public key which I pasted earlier. Okay, so this time I am not creating any options. Whatever the default option, I am good with it. So let's create. Okay, so my public instance is already running. Let me log in there. I'll show you how to log in. You can see that there is already having the public key IP address is automatically generated. Username is OPC, and rest of the details are there. So I'll copy the public IPv4 address. Okay, so it's OPC is the users, and this is my IPv4. I accept the continue connecting key, and hopefully I have connected. Yes, I have already connected. What is the host name? You can see the host name. So the host name is public instance 1. Now I'll just doing some small type of checks, as I mentioned in my here, that I want to create a web servers out of it. So suppose if you mention this is my web server in the public subnet, and this will be my DB server. So I just want to show you that, you know, if I'll create some sample web services here, how can we access that? Okay, so as I already know, if I'll go to this virtual cloud network, and I'll see this VCN, I'll go the internet gateway. You can see that there is a one internet gateway is there, and the route table, and for the default route table that is catering this public subnet is already internet gateway is there. That means that's why I could able to connect, okay, to the system. Okay, I'll just this is my instance. So just to check whether I can connect any kind of web services. I can connect, like from here. Just I want to show you something. Since it is a public subnet and it is a public IP, and the internet gateway is already configured. So if I'll just go to google.com, you can see that I can able to ping. That means outside traffic is allowed. Okay, now why it is allowed? Because ping is allowed. If I'll go through the default security list, and if you see the Egress rules, you can see that ICMP IP, this is ICMP protocol. Okay, so ICMP is allowed by default from any source, so 0000/0. That's why ping is happening. The next things what I am planning to do, that I'll just show you how you can use this host as a web server. For that I have to install first the HTTPD installed okay. This is gonna take few seconds to complete. After that I'll be starting the Apache CTLs, and also I enable that HTTPD services, and I will also need to disable some of the firewall stuff, because this OCI instance there is a Linux level firewall, so I will be disabling the firewalls, and I will also put some sample index.html files in the HTTPD home, and then we can check that if this particular servers can be used as a web servers. Okay, now the next thing is that I'll be Apache CTL start. Okay, sudo systemctl enable pd. Okay, now as I said, there could be Linux level firewalls, so I have to check whether the firewall is on or not. Otherwise even though the AT is allowed, this is allowed from the firewall, this security list firewalls level. This is, you can see, this is security list is some kind of a network firewall, but there is a system firewall as well, like a West level firewall. So I am going to check what is the firewall is currently enabled. If it is enabled, then I have two options. Either I can create a hook, like only enable this port 80 for this issue, or I can disable the firewalls. So I am going to disable the firewall if it is enabled. Okay, so the command is sudo systemctl status firewall d. Yes, you can see that the vendor setting is enabled, it is enabled, and the vendor preset is enabled. So the firewall is enabled right now. What I am going to do, I am going to disable it and then stop it. Systemctl disable fire d, and I am going to stop this as well. Okay, now I'll check the status. Now you can see that it is disabled and the vendor preset is enabled. That means firewall is done. So both the network level firewall, which is security list, both, and the host level firewall is off. So now the next thing is that I have to put some index.html in the HTML root directory. So what is that? It is for Linux, for the OEL, it is var this var, okay, and then HTML. So what I am going to create it, I am going to create a simple index.html file. Okay, this is a simple HTML file, and I'll also say maybe 755. Okay. Okay. Now ideally if I'll go to the compute instance, I want to take the IP, public IP for IP. Okay, and I'll copy the IP. So everything is current. I should get my HTML page. Yes, I can get my HTML page. Welcome to CloudVi, happy learning. So that means that particular the two thing is confirms, that is this I am all getting because of the this it's allowed the traffic to this public subnet in this compute instance, and since it is attached to a internet gateway, both the incoming and outgoing traffic to the internet is allowed. So it is using as a, also I use this particular type of host like host as a web server. Okay, so that's great. The next thing is that next thing is what I am going to do. I'm going to show you that the things about the private instance which is created on a private subnet, and how we can, the two things I am going to show you, how we can use NAT. The second thing and the last thing is I am going to show you that how we can log into this the private instance using the Bastion host. Okay, because we cannot directly log in there because it is a private and public IP is not allowed. Okay, the first thing is I am going to show you about the NAT. The NAT is something as I said in the picture, connections from here, connections from here, since can't this connections from here, anything, if you want a DB server, if you want to access the Google, or if you want to download the patch, connection to the internet, it's not possible because there is no there is no entry. You cannot do that through the public and gateway. You have to do that through the NAT. So the NAT has to be created, and NAT is having a public IP, so you have to route the table to the NAT, route the request from a private subnet to the NAT. Okay, so how we can do that? First I will go into the VCN. Okay, I'll choose the VCN. I'll click the NAT gateway. There is nothing, so I'll create a NAT gateway. I'll put a name, say my fast NAT. Okay, so ephemeral public IP, reserve public IP, you have two options. Public IP is a lifetime public IP address. The ephemeral public IP is that is bound on the NAT gateway, lifetime of the NAT gateway, and the ephemeral public IP address is that this is your control, this is your IP. Okay, so I am good with the ephemeral one. Create NAT gateway. Okay, now this NAT gateway I want to do that along with this my private subnet. So what I'll do that, I'll go to the route table and I'll choose the private route table, because this is the route table for my private subnet. So I'll create a route, target type, this type I will choose the NAT gateway. Destination CIDR I'll choose all, select NAT gateway, my fast NAT. Yeah, route send all routes to NAT. Okay, so that means I am creating a route. The route will be from the private subnet to the NAT gateway, and what are the traffic? All traffic 00000, all traffic should go to the NAT. Okay, and the route, add route rules. So my NAT is already created. Okay, the next thing is that I will going to check. I shall going to check whether I can log in there or not. Okay, after the logging, whether I'll see whether NAT is working or not. Okay, for that things, as I said, I cannot directly log in there, because if I'll go to my instance, you see that when I log into the private instance, it doesn't have any public IP. So the no way, sorry, So no way I can connect to the public private, I'll just try to connect. You can see that this will not going to work because this is not a public. It's not going to work because this doesn't know that, okay. So what is the way? The way I have to do that through the my Bastion host. Now there is a very good Oracle PDF is available. I'll give you the link in my below. So there is mentioned everything, how we can log into the using the NAT, what kind of privileges required. Is definitely required a port 22 should be open in my private, whatever the particular route table and the security list, okay. And that should be security list, and there is a option is given. The first thing is that suppose this is my Mac. So what I have to do, that I have to first allow, okay, using the SSH agent to connect through the Bastion host. So I'll be using a command which I'll be directly logging from my client machines and through the this Bastion host. Bastion host is nothing but my public, my computer instance running on the public subnet. So I'll assume that is my Bastion host. What I'm going to create, I can configure this SSH config file, and I add an something is called the add key host agent to ES. This step is specific to the Mac, okay. So what I'm going to do, okay, so mkdir, no, not mkdir, vi. So I'll create a config folder, open, and I'll put this, I'll just add this parameter, add key agent, yes, okay. The next things what I'm going to do, that it is mentioned that from another one terminal, okay, I have to forward the agent forwarding and allows logging to the next server. So this I have to do that from particular server. So SSH -a and IP address of my Bastion host, that is nothing but my public instance. So I'll copy the public IPv4 IP and it able to connect. So I'll leave it here, okay. So I'll open another window, okay. Now there are multiple choices, I can do it as it says here, okay. I can do it using this proxy jump, and if it is not available, if I'll using a older SSH client where the proxy jump is not available, instead I can use the proxy command, okay. So I already have the command with me. Only the thing, this is the first of all, when if you use the proxy jump command, SSH -j, and the second is the proxy command. So I'll be showing you the both. The only the things I need to change the private instance private IP address, okay. So and as well as the public instance IP, okay. So I am changing here the both, and I will be showing you the both if both works. So this is, so this is the first command I am going to try now from my second terminal window. Please remember that my first terminal window is still working, okay. This is not working. Why? Because is timed out, right? Because I'll show you why. Because the security list, as it says here, okay, the security list, there should be a ingress list 22 should be allowed. Okay, let me see that. I believe this is for me, we have not set it yet. So I'll go to the database VCN. I know that's my security list, my custom security list, the private security list. What is the ingress? There is nothing. There should be nothing. There is only one protocol. All protocols from 10.0.0.20, that is my VPC VCN CIDR, not my client machine. So I'll put another ingress rules. This time I'll put 00000 and I'll put SSH and I'll put 22. Okay, that should work. Now I'll try again. Yes, connecting. What is the host name? Host name is private instance. That means it's able to connect. Okay, this is my host. What is the host name? Host name is private instance, right? So it is able to connect. Let's try the second command. This is the second command where if we'll use the older proxy modules, SSH module. Okay, this is also able to connect. Okay, that's great. Now next thing is that I already connected to the private instance. Can I ping Google? No. Why? Because I believe we don't have any ICMP traffic allowed, right? Let's go to the VCN again, and this is my VCN. I'll choose the security list again, my private security list. Do I have any ICMP traffic? No. Let me put a ICMP traffic. ICMP, add ingress rules. Okay, let me try again. Now see that the still we cannot ping to the google.com from the private instance. What happens? What is wrong now? Now you see that ICMP traffic we have enabled in ingress rules, but what about the egress rules? There is nothing. So if I'll compare the other one, like security details, database VCN, security list for the default one, and if I'll see that the egress rules, there is a one, it's allowed everything. So that's the difference. So that means if I'll go to the database VCN again, I'll go to the security list and I'll go to the public security list, private security list, and go to the egress rules and add a egress rules like for ICMP. Okay, and add egress rules. So now there is an egress rule for ICMP, and let's try again. Yeah, you can see now it can able to connect. So what we understood from there, so from connections it's using a NAT. So it's we had a NAT gateway. So it says I'll go to the VCN. I'll just let's recapitulate what we have done. We are having a NAT gateway, and it will go to the, it's using this private route table. There is a route, so all the traffics, it is a google.com, there is an IP address in beneath. So it's taking, it's find out, okay, yes, I am in the IP range, so all the IP is going to the, send the traffic to the NAT. So it sends the traffic to the NAT. Now There is something firewalls. The firewalls means it's a network firewalls, which is kind of a security list. Here is kind of a firewall. So what security list checks? Okay, I am sending a traffic to outside. Do you have the both the the proper permissions or proper firewall rules are there? So the firewall rules, it's having that, do you have the egress rules and the ingress rules? Egress rules means that yes, my traffic is allowed, ICMP traffic is allowed. It's a egress rules are there because it is outgoing, and similarly there is a ingress rule. So that is required. That is means there is a proper path to the NAT, and also there is a egress rules, that is security list rules are there. When both are met, I can send my traffic to the internet. That means these kind of things mostly used for the database servers, where we have to download some patches or some kind of updates from the internet. Okay, so that's it. That is most about this internet gateway, NAT gateway. We have discussed about the Bastion host, how to connect to that. So that's about this video. Thank you.